You heard about Musk impregnating another chick, right? Jesus. Busy boy. All of that and Mars.
A better you starts today.
Hey, did you know that I've got a live seminar now? Well, you're gonna know, because these ads are just gonna pop up inadvertently in all of my videos from now on, but I think you should go. I think that it's going to be very good for you, because it's always good to go to an immersive environment where you're around fellow people that fully get it. And the best way to do that is to just come down to the first one. That's going to be on the 27th, and then it'll be going around the country. So stay tuned for me popping up and annoying you, just like I'm a Nescafe ad in the YouTube ad reel shorts. Yeah, the most recent baby that we know of. Wedded to, what was her name again? August St. Clair. Christ, what a 90s porn star name that is. Anyway, she's your usual run-of-the-mill conservative talk show radio host with her whole, marrying out of wedlock is a sin, and then there you go, right there, bam. If the price is right, you can live in sin, can't you? As long as you're one of the first to get a Cybertruck. But look, before going on into that, I just want to say, don't you think that all of these political movements in this day and age, it's so indicative of all of them. You sit there and you'll be like, I don't know, depending on whether or not you like Trump, you will be watching that movement and you will be saying, it's so typical of MAGA to be like this, just completely hypocritical. And we all know that the entire SJW movement, for instance, what I found particularly distasteful about it was, it's not really a thing anymore, is it? Who are SJWs at this point? They're kind of like goths. I assume they exist, but where are you? Those people, though, it was all based off the same thing, which is, get ready for this, I want you to write it down because it does explain a lot of the world today. Puritanism. It is Puritanism. What these movements are based off of is a cultural narcissism that infects society, and whatever that cultural narcissism entails, like this weird arbitrary checklist that you have to go through to, jump through the hoops to prove that you're holy, I suppose. That's indicative all through society. So in Australia, in the 50s, there was the DLP. And they moved away from the Labor Party because they were too communist and weren't, I don't know, what was the word? No, not Catholic enough. There wasn't any communism in it. It was just the Red Scare of the 50s, but it was not Catholic enough. And so they moved away from that. And then in the 90s and the 80s, you had the Democrats, and our Democrats here. And that was based off the premise of like, we're keeping the bastards honest. All politicians are bastards. And every single time you ever get one of these minor parties, you will see that it is filled with the bastards. Because what is a minor party? What is an independent? They have nothing to ground themselves on. The big ticket items in every democracy are always in the major parties, always, because there's really only two economic dynamics. Sorry, I know this is going really deep for just like being like, she had another baby? Yuck! But Musk! What the hell? Don't you have enough kids? But I think that it's the backdrop of what is happening now, yeah? Which is that when you have these big movements of, oh, we got to go, it's always this. And I mean, MAGA did exactly the same thing. We got to drain the swamp, and then they go in and they're just swamp creatures. Absolute swamp monsters lurking out, doing whatever the hell they can to suckle off the teat of the taxpayer dollar, right? And it's the same thing with all the independents and the minor parties here. It's always just this thing of like, oh, we've got to get rid of the bastards. Oh, there's so many bastards in the major parties. And then you look at who the independents are. You look at who the minor parties are. They are the biggest bastards out. The biggest bastards out. Every time. The reason that they're independent, the reason that they are in minor parties is because they tried to join the major parties and they weren't talented enough. And so then they go, well, I'll start my own party. And then they just start telling simple, plain truths. And this simple, plain public go, and then they vote for these idiots. And anyway, this is what I think happens in these kinds of dynamics. So look, you have photos of, what was her name again? Ashley St. Clair. Jesus. Born in the wrong decade, honey. But anyway, you have photos of her out there with placards saying Joe Biden must go. So creepy. Creepy Joe must go. And then has baby with man that looks exactly like Jared Leto's scary interpretation of a billionaire trying to get to Mars with the robotic eyes. You can't, I'm sorry, you cannot call Joe Biden creepy and then have a kid with Elon Musk. You can't. You can't. Can't you see the contradiction in this? And then also when it comes to, so many of her friends, of colleagues, contemporaries, herself, she's marrying a child out of wedlock. It's so bad. I would rather die alone than have the shame of having a kid out of wedlock. Here we go. Out you go. As long as the kid has a nanny, is this the rule now? It always just changes, and so shameless as well. It's just whenever they break their own sin, all of a sudden the sin's fine. It's exactly the same with the Greens and One Nation. Here, I can point to a million examples of these assholes being extremely hypocritical, extremely contradictory. I mean, Marine Faruqi, for instance, every single day getting up and saying, property developers must be punished. And how many properties does she have? 5, 6? I cannot believe that you have not passed the EPA up to my high standards. And then just clears land on her own properties that has endangered species on it. These are terrible people. They always are, because they are a reflection of society's narcissism at the time. And obviously what MAGA has represented in America, obviously what this huge explosion of independence, in inverted commas, independence, and minor parties, what they represent is the fact that there is a huge contingency of the population now that don't actually need anything from politics. Like our standards of living, everyone can constantly complain about how bad it is living in America. Okay, well, go live in the Congo for a week, tell me what it's like. It's still incredible. By world global standards, you have nothing to complain about as an American citizen. Nothing. Really? Yeah, okay. There's countries that have figured it out better than you. Not many. And historically, like in terms of your day-to-day needs, pretty damn handled. You can sit there and say that cost of living increased the price of eggs or whatever. You still have eggs. This is a luxury that has not been with the general population for most of its existence. It's only a very recent phenomenon that you can have eggs. So the point is that when you get to a society that has met all the basic needs of people, most people do have a fairly comfortable income. This is the result. Politics sort of just becomes about Puritanism. It becomes about, I'm holier than thou, for these stupid subset of rules. And so because politics is based off of nothing, this is what happens. It's all just house of cards, smoke of mirrors, nothing. It is a reflection of whatever is the trendy societal narcissism at the time. It has nothing to do with outcomes. This is why it doesn't matter when you say to the general population, look, this particular government is bringing in a huge suite of educational reforms. It is bringing in, it's trying to stop Medicare from being privatized. It has a record of doubling the amount of renewables in the grid in one term that the previous government took 10 years to get to that level. This is a very competent government. No one cares. Everybody just cares about their pet little narcissism issue, because really, none of these things actually affect them anymore. It is a very weird time to be alive in. We are a victim of our own success, and it's quite pathetic, the response, really. Quite depressing. Anyway, I think that when it comes to making a better society and making a better you, this, honestly, couldn't be a better lesson. It really couldn't. What is happening there is so indicative of what it takes to actually look in the mirror. And I think that it's this. Own your flaws. That's it. I'll give you another example. We were thinking about this the other day because we're doing a video about housing. Don't you think our generation sits there endlessly saying, can't believe the boomers just destroyed the property market by buying up all these cheap investments and now we don't have any properties. Forgetting that when your mum and dad die, you're going to inherit the property. And then immediately what's going to happen? That's it, I'm voting Liberal. That will happen. That was the entire point of making the housing market in Australia the way that it is now, so that you keep voting Liberal so they protect your houses. You will be part of it. As Bill Maher once said, I think it's such a good point. Such a good point. There's only two types of people in the world. There's those that wish that they could fly on a private jet and those that do fly on a private jet. That's it. Really. Come on. We are far more selfish and far more self-absorbed than you would like to accept. Here's another thing that I think really helps. The particular way in which your narcissism inflames, it's an old self-help adage, but I think it's so true. It's whatever annoys you in other people is because it's so prevalent in you. And I want you to write that down. Whatever annoys you about other people, it's because it's prevalent in you. So, what annoys me? Oh, the arrogance. This person's so arrogant. How dare they have an opinion on this? Keeping in mind, I've made an entire career off of spouting my opinions on politics. I'm doing it now. I'm doing it right now. No, I should be paid more for this. And no, I shouldn't get any blowback for it at all. That's how I genuinely think in my head. Of course I do. Everyone does. This is the other thing that really angers me when people write to me being like, Finley George is your bias. You would have to be so brain dead to never understand ever that anything that I think isn't biased. Everything that everyone else thinks that doesn't agree with me, coincidentally, is biased. It just shows a complete and utter lack of self-awareness. It just really shows that there is a level of selfishness in you that you're not even aware of. As always, what are we talking about here? Diagnosis is half of the cure. Diagnosis is half of the cure. And I think this is the other thing that is this amazing benefit about this. Look, Trump, I don't know, he broke the matrix. The fact that he can sit there and say, no, I'm perfect and I'm the smartest person of all time, easily the smartest, much smarter than Einstein, I would say. Like, I don't know, it works, it's funny, everyone likes him for it, I like him for it, yeah? But generally, who do people like? They like people that are self-aware. Why do they like people that are self-aware? Because it envelops trust. It shows that to the other person, it indicates to the other person, I get the creature that I am, therefore it is more contained than the average person. In fact, don't you think that this is... Have you ever had this scenario before? Because I have. I have had this scenario. I've been around serious thuggish criminals. Of course, because of my line of work, it sometimes happens. Look, there is an air of trust around people that have done time for murder. There is a more comfortability and ease being around these people than there is your average dickhead at your office job that sits there all day just saying like, Trump's a racist, or the other one of, I don't know, like, I can't believe you'd ever have an abortion. Like, those people, it's such an indicator to me that they are not self-aware at all. Pure running off of just like this scared little, how do I fit in to fit the general standards of, okay, I'll do that. It's groupthink mentality. And it's really creepy when you see it in other people. I think anyway. And so I think that like a big portion of all of this is to just figure out, you're just really not that great. And I'll tell you something. It's liberating. Now, there's going to be a bunch of other videos on this channel where I will be talking about how you build yourself up and talk about how great you are. But they're also, like with everything in self-help, it's about a roundedness. You understand? Like, it's not the beating yourself up about it. It's being aware about it and having a laugh about it. And that makes everybody else more comfortable. And it makes you more of a leader. And it makes you, like, you know, like a very rare asset. Somebody who is trustable. It's a massive advantage. So anyway, if you like that, make sure that you sign up to this channel. Also, I've got 3 extra videos a week, and those 3 extra videos a week, I go deep into things. Very deep into things. Whatever I have been reading about that week, I give you the perfect pitch summaries, 10 minutes. Takes me hours a week, hours and hours a week, and my producer, hours a week to condense all of the information to give to you like that. Price of a coffee. And it'll wake you up, and it'll move you further than the goddamn coffee. I can tell you that right now. Also, I've got seminars. Check out the seminars as well, and I'll see you next time. The seminars are in the bottom link. The comments. I'll chuck it in the comments. Thank you for your time.